Rain poured in relentless sheets that night. The clock on the bedside table blinked 2:03 a.m. when Alina Reed heard the faint sound of gravel crunching outside their home. Her husband, Marcus, stirred in his sleep, the rhythmic rise and fall of his chest undisturbed. She got up quietly, her silk robe brushing against her legs as she peered out the window. A strange light flickered across the lawn. Then she heard a muffled voice. "Perimeter secure. Move in." Her heartbeat quickened. "Marcus," she whispered, shaking his shoulder. "There's someone outside." He sat up instantly, instincts kicking in. His years as a Navy SEAL commander never really left him. He moved to the dresser and grabbed his phone to call 911, then froze when he heard pounding at the door. "Open up, police." Alina gasped. "What? Why?" Before Marcus could answer, the front door exploded inward with a deafening crash. Officers in tactical gear stormed in, shouting, "Down, hands where we can see them." Marcus raised his hands. "Wait, this is my house." But Alina, terrified and half asleep, reached for the lamp to turn on the light, her hand clutching a shiny silver hairbrush. A single gunshot echoed through the night. The sound silenced everything. Marcus's scream tore through the chaos. Alina, she fell against the dresser, her white robe blooming red. The brush clattered to the floor, spinning uselessly near her fingers. The officers froze as the reality hit them. One of them stammered. She had something shiny. Marcus lunged toward his wife, cradling her head. "You shot my wife." She wasn't armed. She wasn't blood-coated. His hands. He pressed down, desperate to stop the bleeding. "Stay with me. Lena, please, stay with me." But her eyes were fading, her breath slipping away. "Marcus," she whispered weakly. "It's okay. Just promise me. Take care of Mia." Her hand went limp. Marcus let out a sound no man should ever have to make, a howl of grief that shook even the armed men standing around him. By dawn, the house was quiet except for the hum of police radios outside. Marcus sat in handcuffs on his own front porch, his wife's blood still drying on his skin. An officer approached timidly. "Sir, there was a 911 call. Reports of a wrong address. We were so sorry." Marcus looked up, eyes empty. "You murdered my wife." In front of me, the officer looked away. "We'll launch an investigation immediately." Marcus's voice was a whisper, but it carried the weight of steel. "No, I will." 3 days later, the story hit the news. Police fatally shoot woman in wrong address raid. Husband identified as Navy SEAL commander. Reporters swarmed his driveway. Politicians offered condolences. The department issued a statement about an unfortunate accident. But Marcus knew better. He'd seen men take responsibility for mistakes under fire. This wasn't an accident, it was negligence. Fear, bias. So he started digging. He pulled every record, every report, every piece of footage he could access using contacts from his years in military intelligence. He discovered that the lead officer, Sergeant Riker, had multiple complaints of excessive force, all buried. The team had acted on a false 911 call about a suspicious black man with a gun at an address that wasn't even his. That call had sent them into his home, and Alina had paid for it with her life. Marcus's grief turned to focus. For the next week, he compiled everything: body cam footage, dispatch errors, officer misconduct records. Then, using skills honed from years in covert operations, he did something the world would never forget. He released it all, a viral video titled, "They Killed My Wife." Here's the truth. They tried to bury appeared online. It started with body cam footage, Jelona's soft voice saying, "Marcus, what's happening?" Followed by the flash, the shot, and silence. Then came marcus'svoice.com but raw. "My name is Commander Marcus Reed, United States Navy SEALs. I've fought for this country for 20 years. My wife believed in justice. This is what justice did to her." The footage cut to documents, complaints ignored, reports falsified, names hidden. Within 24 hours, it had 10 million views. Within 72 protests had erupted across the nation. The police chief called Marcus personally. "Commander Reed, I want to express my deepest save it." Marcus interrupted coldly. "I don't want apologies. I want accountability. Internal affairs is no. I've already sent everything to the Attorney General." The line went silent. Marcus had outmaneuvered them all. A week later, he stood in front of the Capitol, surrounded by cameras and microphones. His SEAL uniform was immaculate, the medals on his chest glinting under the sun. "My wife was unarmed. My daughter is motherless. And I am done watching this happen again and again," he said. His voice didn't shake, it carried the quiet fury of a soldier who had buried too many loved ones. "I was trained to protect life. I was trained to stay calm under fire. But the men who came into my home that night weren't protecting anyone. They were afraid. Afraid of my skin, afraid of my home, afraid of their own shadows." He paused, letting the silence hang heavy. Fear shouldn't carry a badge, because when it does, innocence bleeds. His speech aired across every major network. Millions watched. Congress debated reforms. For once, the country wasn't just angry, it was listening. Months later, Sergeant Riker and 2 others were indicted. The police chief resigned. A national task force was launched to prevent wrongful raids. But Marcus didn't stop there. He started the Alina Initiative, a foundation dedicated to training police in de-escalation, accountability, and racial sensitivity. Veterans volunteered to help. Families of victims found support. And through it all, Marcus visited Elena's grave every Sunday. He'd bring fresh white roses, their petals trembling in the wind. One afternoon, he brought me on Al 7, who held his hand tightly. "Daddy," she said softly, "is Mommy in heaven?" He smiled sadly. "Yes, baby, she's watching over us. Does she miss us?" Marcus's eyes glistened. "Every day. But you know what? We're making her proud." Mia tilted her head. "How?" He knelt beside her. "Because when something terrible happens, we can either let it break us, or we can turn it into something good. Mommy's gone, but her love, her light is changing the world." The little girl smiled and placed a small white daisy on the grave. "Then Mommy's a hero too." Marcus nodded. "She always was." He looked up at the sky, where clouds parted just enough for sunlight to fall over her name. For the first time since that terrible night, Marcus felt peace, not because justice was done, but because Elena's story had given meaning to the pain. Tragedy can either destroy us or define us. True strength isn't in revenge, it's in turning pain into purpose, and love into lasting change. Even in the darkest nights, light can be reborn through courage, truth, and hope.